I found out that I had fibroids years ago. Probably about 7, 8, probably about 9 years ago. I was in my final lap of UE, so I was finishing up university, and I had the feeling my periods were getting really, really bad. I started having a lot of excess pain, and my period was starting to be longer than normal. So I started having periods for upwards of 5 days. So I realized that something was wrong. And of course, I did what a lot of people do when they're not feeling well in their bodies. I went to Google doctor, and I self-diagnosed. I was about 23 years old at the time when I found out. Well, I thought that I had it. About a year later, I left UE, and I completely ignored it. I'm very close to my mother, and I didn't want her to worry about me. So and I figured if I didn't give it attention, then it would go away. Or so I thought, I guess. I don't know. Mentally, that's how I dealt with it. I just didn't think about it. And then about a year later, when I started teaching, I got sick. So I was at work. I'm a teacher. For those who don't know, I am a teacher. And I was in the classroom, and I was feeling these sharp pains in my stomach. The pains were more to one side of my stomach, the lower stomach to the side. And then I felt woozy in my head. I was feeling really dizzy, like I was going to pass out. So I had a class. It was a grade 9 class, cannot forget. It was 9R. I'm not going to say it, but it was 9R. And I know that if something should happen, then those kids are not the kids who are going to sit and behave. So I stood up and I put my body in the doorway. So I had my back to the door, and I had my hands to the other side of the door because I was feeling really weak, as if I was going to pass out. The kids were writing notes. One of the kids said to me, "Are you feeling okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not okay." So she went and she called the teacher next door. The teacher next door was able to step in, and I went to see the nurse. When I went up to see the school nurse, I was explaining how I was feeling. She tested my blood pressure. It was fine. She asked me if I'm diabetic. I told her, no, I'm not. And then she said, well, you need to go and see the doctor. Of course, I need to go and see the doctor. I felt like I was dying. I went to the doctor. My doctor in Jamaica was about 5 minutes away from my school, and at the time I wasn't driving. So I got a taxi. I went to the doctor, and the doctor thought it was my appendix because it was to one side, and the jabbing pains that I was having, she thought it was my appendix that was ruptured. So what she did, she ordered an emergency ultrasound for me. She did a pelvic exam as well. So she had fingers inside, finger on top of my stomach, and she knew that I had fibroids. So she said, I'm not sure if it's your fibroids or if it's your appendix. And I'm like, what? And she said, you didn't know. I'm like, I had an idea. I Google diagnosed, but I wasn't sure. So she said, okay, let's do the ultrasound and let's see what's happening. And she says, matter of fact, you need to go to do the ultrasound like tomorrow. The next day, I didn't go to work. She wrote me a few days of sick leave because she needed me to get it done right away. This was about a Tuesday, so the morning would have been the Wednesday morning. I went to Ocho to do the ultrasound at the radiologist there. When I went, it was a mean lady. She was horrible. She's good at her job, but her customer service skills, horrible. She put the gel on my stomach, and she put the thingy on my stomach. I don't know the name of it. And she was looking at the screen. So I was looking at the screen too. And normally you watch movies and you see the screen come up. It's a baby. And I'm like, I'm not pregnant. So why is that? Why does that screen look like that? So I noticed she was looking at some stuff, and she kept on measuring, like she was moving this thing along, and she was like 3 centimeters by, I think it was 2 centimeters. She kept measuring something. And I'm like, what is that? But I moved and I'm like, what is that? And she's like, you need to lay down so that I can get this picture and I can get it to your doctor as soon as possible. And she was so mean. I felt like I needed to sit down like I was a little child and I was being scolded, and I needed to just sit down and shut up. I laid back down. I didn't say anything. Once she was done, she gave me some tissue. I cleaned my stomach off, and she says, well, nothing is wrong with your appendix. Your appendix didn't rupture. It's just that it's curly. To this day, I don't even know what that means. Because when I said it to my doctor says it's not anything to worry about. But she didn't explain to me what does a curly appendix mean. I just know I have a curly appendix, and I don't know what that means. So when I went back to the doctor the day after, because I did the ultrasound, and then the day after I had to go to the doctor for her to read the results. But the doctor says, since it's not my appendix, then it's fine, because if it was my appendix that was ruptured, then I would have needed an emergency surgery. But since it's not my appendix, then I can come and see her tomorrow, and she would read the results to me. So when I went to my doctor the following day, she confirmed that I do have fibroids. I had about 3 fibroids at the time, and she confirmed that I had 2 cysts. So one of the cysts had ruptured, and that's where the pain was coming from. So I was feeling a lot of pain because the cyst had ruptured, and then there was a lot of liquid from the cyst that was leaking into my uterus, and that's why I was feeling so much pain. So I had 2 that were still intact, and one of them had ruptured. So in total, I would have had 3 cysts at the time. So I went home and I told my daddy about it. She didn't prescribe any medication. I'm lying. She gave me some antibiotic, but she didn't give me anything for the fibroid. That's what I meant. So I went home and I told my daddy what happened, and my daddy said that pomegranate. I don't know how you call it, but that thing is good for cysts. So he made some tea. He chopped up some whole pomegranate, and he used the actual leaves from it, and he made some tea. And then he gave me the fruits and told me to eat them, and he made the tea, and I had to drink that tea morning, evening, and nights. And talking about pomegranate, this is my favorite lip gloss from Moods by Yan. Pomegranate lip gloss. It's amazing. It gives your lip extra shine. There's no sticky residue, and it feels amazing. Smells amazing too. You can use it with your lipstick, on top of your lipstick, or you can just use some lip liner with it, and it completes your look. So yeah, Moods by Yan. If you want to get yours, go to Moods by Yan at myshopify.com and order yours, and it's only $5. So you can order your lip gloss, your lip scrub, your lip balm, all on Moods by Yan. And if you don't like the lip gloss that's in the wand tube, you can get the one in the squeeze tube, and it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, get yours. Moods by Yan also has strawberry and coconut as well, but pomegranate is my favorite. So anyway, back to my story. So my daddy made me the tea, and I had the tea morning, midday, and night. I drank a lot of that tea. And then I had a follow-up at my doctor in, I think it was 2 weeks later. So when I went back for the follow-up, I also had to do a follow-up ultrasound. My cysts were all gone, so I didn't have any of those 2 other cysts. They both ruptured. But because of the tea, the properties of the tea, I think it's because it's antioxidant properties. I don't know. But because of the tea, and then my mommy, she also bought me some juices, and she would buy the pomegranate flavored juices for me to drink. So because of that, my cysts were ruptured without me having the pain. I didn't even know that they were gone. So it's at the follow-up ultrasound that I realized that I no longer have the cysts anymore. And since that, I have been consuming a lot of pomegranate. So if I go out and there's a pomegranate flavored juice, I'm going to take that option. And if there's a fruit available, I'm going to take that option as well, if it's not too expensive. Here in the US, I found one pomegranate fruit in a supermarket for $5. Me not buy that. But I found it in another supermarket and it's not so expensive. So I've bought that and I've been having that as a part of my diet. So that's something, if you have cysts, consume pomegranate juices or the fruit, and that should help you. So yeah, when I went back to the doctor, the fibroids were still there. They're still there. They're still here today, but my cysts are gone, and I haven't had cysts since. No, that's my story about how I found out that I have fibroids. I am living with fibroids. But some symptoms of fibroids: heavy bleeding. So you'll have more bleeding than normal or than you did before. You may also experience clots with your menses. You will have extended periods from a lot of people, upwards of 5 days. And I think that is extensive because a lot of people don't experience their periods for that long. Also, you are at risk of being anemic. Currently, I am not anemic. I've had to alter my diet. So I have been eating a lot of greens, so a lot of green vegetable. I've been drinking green juices, so on. I've been taking iron supplements, so I maintain my iron levels, so I'm not anemic. Your skin tends to be paler, especially during that time that you're bleeding. You may feel drained. You may feel extremely tired, and that's because you're losing so much blood. Lifestyle changes do help. So if you are living with fibroids, you will need to make some lifestyle changes. For example, eat more greens. So eat more broccoli, more lettuce, more spinach, more green vegetables. Find different ways that are good, or find different ways to incorporate it into your foods. So I add spinach to my eggs in the morning. I blend my green juices. I eat a lot of steamed broccoli. I try to eat a lot of vegetables. The green vegetables are actually good. Beets. A lot of people do not like beets, but it depends on how you incorporate it into your diet. So I drink a lot of beets. I mix it with carrots. So I have beets and carrots as my juice. Sometimes I do it with just some sugar or just some honey. And then at times I may add some milk and make a whole punch out of it. So incorporate more beets in your diet. I've heard also that we can boil the beet and have it as a ground provision, but I've never tried it that way. But you could probably try that. What I try to do is to avoid exercising during my periods because I'm already feeling so drained and so tired. And then what I notice, if you overexert yourself, then it allows you to bleed more or longer. It extends your bleeding cycle. So I try to avoid exercise during that period. Another tip is for you to stay hydrated, and you have to have a positive attitude. Initially, when I got sick, it was horrible. I would cry. I would just sit on the toilet and cry. My mommy had to see a lot of that because she thought something else was wrong. Like, she couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I would just tell her, I want them to come out because it is exhausting, and I would cry. But like I said, a positive attitude, and you should be fine. There's a Facebook group that I'm a part of. It's a closed Facebook group. So in order to join the group, you have to have fibroids. And then there's a survey that you're asked to do. And based on your responses for the survey, you're included in the group. It's a bunch of women. They're from all over the world. I know none of these women, but their stories encourage me daily. So you need to join that as well if you are living with fibroid. Somebody told me that a vegan lifestyle actually helped her. I did not choose this for personal reasons, but if that works for you, then kudos to you. And if you're able to make that drastic switch and start doing a completely vegan lifestyle, then you can do that as well. Now, finally, before I leave, I'm going to talk about a few myths and the facts as it relates to fibroids, because a lot of people don't know the information, and then we hear a lot of things and we believe a lot of things simply because we don't know. So myth number 1 is that fibroids are cancerous. That is not true. Fibroids are actually benign growths. Benign growths meaning they're non-cancerous. Myth number 2 is that hysterectomy is the only treatment. That is not true as well. There are minimally invasive surgery options that can be done, and there are also diet changes that can be done. So I spoke earlier about the vegan diet that can help to shrink and hopefully completely get rid of your fibroids. I'm not saying it does, but it does help it to shrink, and it eases the effects of your fibroid. Fibroids only affect women in their 30s and their 40s. That is not true. I found out that I had fibroids when I was 23 years old. So no. And I probably had it before, but it started showing up at 23. So until this day, I'm not sure when I got it, but it was way before I became 30. Once they are removed, they can't come back. That is not true. That's also a myth. They do grow back, and they do grow back. They do. Myth number 5 is that you cannot get pregnant and you cannot stay pregnant if you are living with fibroids. That is also not true. In that Facebook group that I spoke about earlier, there are a lot of women in that Facebook support group, and they're having healthy babies. They're sharing their pictures of their healthy babies. They're sharing pictures of positive pregnancy tests. They are showing themselves being pregnant, heavily pregnant too, and they're just living their best lives with the fibroids. So if you're a woman out there and you're living with fibroids, then find this Facebook group. There is a lot of support out there for you, and you're not alone. We're in this together, mama. Take care.